Hi y'all, my name is Sean. Welcome to my channel, Time for Evolution. Greetings y'all, my name is Sean, and welcome to my channel, Time for Evolution. I have a powerful and fascinating story to share of my experiences at Burning Man 2024. In this video, I will share commentary as well as a video of a public presentation I gave for a piece of living art that was realized at Burning Man 2024. In summary, I offered a form of living art rooted in my own decades-long meditation practice. This piece of living art was intended to call attention to meditation, stillness, and its power, as well as to the interactive art installation referred to as the Vulva Throne, a piece by Alyssa Sokolov. As living art, my experience can be called the Vigil of the Monarch of the Vulva Throne. I want to begin this video by offering an overview of what to expect in the entire video. The Vigil of the Monarch of the Vulva Throne was a meditation that lasted 12 to 14 hours on the night of opening ceremonies at Burning Man 2024, which was titled Curiouser and Curiouser. During my all-night vigil on the interactive art installation, the Vulva Throne, I drew upon nearly 20 years of experience with meditation in order to remain in a disciplined posture on the Vulva Throne itself for nearly 14 hours. I am familiar and comfortable with altered states of consciousness. And I recognize Burning Man itself to be a type of altered state of consciousness. As such, I was able to make it my focal point during my all-night meditative vigil. This helped me to remain in a meditative state for as long as the energy of Burning Man continued to flow powerfully throughout the entire event, including my vigil. A brief introduction to me as a person will help you, the audience, deeper appreciate this piece of living art. I like to consider myself as an elder in the making. In other words, I do not see my social role being fulfilled until much later in life, after a lifetime of cultivating knowledge and applying it as wisdom. I wanted to allow the altered state of consciousness that is Burning Man itself to subside, to create the space for me to process my experiences, integrate them into my life, and formulate commentary that is rooted in wisdom. One of the primary means to realize this is to break what I call the action-reaction paradigm. All too often, human beings see only two possibilities in any given situation, to either act or react. I invite you to share in the wisdom of my decades-long spiritual practice and appreciate the role of a third option. That third option is observation. In any given situation, we indeed have three options available to us. We can either act, react, or observe. The role of observation as a possible manifestation in any situation is integral to a contemplative life. Indeed, my own spiritual practice has invited me to realize the importance of observation. In that sense, observation can be understood as breaking the cycle of action and reaction. In this sense, it is not only antithetical to an all too common paradigm, but also a little rebellious in a good way. By living my own truth so authentically, I have been able to inspire others, share my wisdom, as well as to learn from others who themselves have much to share. During my all-night vigil, I garnered a significant amount of attention from participants at Burning Man. Indeed, there were numerous photos and videos taken of me during this living art piece. Here is one that was gifted to me. This is a meaningful gift, as it not only memorialized part of my vigil, but also, because it was an old school Polaroid, carries with it a uniqueness that is not found in digital photos. I also want to invite the Burning Man community to share with me any photos or videos of my all-night vigil. Furthermore, I invite questions, comments, and responses to my living art. As you will see in this video, I received a wide range of reactions as I was sitting in meditation all night. On one end of the spectrum, they were inspired responses, and people encouraged me to continue with my vigil. I was offered hugs, positive energy, and other forms of inspiration. In the middle of the spectrum, there were people who were confused and perplexed. Some of them had difficulty determining if I was indeed a real person. At the other end of the spectrum, I was harassed by various participants at Burning Man. Ironically, this includes a few people who are directly connected with the Burning Man organization itself. These people are more than participants. Rather, they help maintain the cultural integrity of this temporary city that exists for but 1 week a year. Such experiences make me question their adherence to the foundational principles of the Burning Man culture. The specific principles are radical inclusion and radical self-expression. Put simply, at Burning Man, everyone should have the proper space created for them to express themselves and be who they are. Indeed, in my contemplation of these experiences, especially concerning individuals directly connected to the Burning Man organization, my response is this: Burning Man, I am neither curiouser nor curiouser. Rather, I'm the curiousest. I'm the curiousest in that I want to find out what happened to radical inclusion and radical self-expression. How does stillness, silence, and a meditative all-night vigil on a piece of interactive art not receive the benefits of radical inclusion and radical self-expression? Before I get into the next section of the video, which is me sharing the story of my all-night meditative vigil on the Vulva Throne, I want to use this opportunity to participate in a common hazing ritual at Burning Man. Put simply, to those who harassed me, including multiple individuals with direct connections to the Burning Man organization itself, I offer you this: fuck your burn. Those familiar with Burning Man will recognize this as a playful type of hazing, which is warranted in this situation. However, I also recognize that some people do not like to haze or be hazed. Indeed, I'm one of those people, as I tend to shy away from opportunities to haze others. I encourage you to watch until the end of the video when I offer my audience a more respectful alternative to the common hazing ritual of telling someone else, fuck your burn.
Do you want the mic stand or do you want it freehand?
Let's try freehand.
Right back with this.
Okay. One thing I have to tell you.
Yes.
Use this microphone. Not a great microphone.
Okay.
Our sound system is a little challenged this year. So you got to talk right into the microphone and it needs to come straight out of your face.
Okay.
So if you see me looking at you making what seem to be like vulgar motions, I'm just telling you to like adjust the mic. That's it. Nothing extra weird. Kronos, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone.
All right, thank you, everybody. My name is Kronos. Let's see. This is my first burn. Let's begin by saying that. So
Everything this past couple weeks has been new to me. I'm going to start out providing a bit of contextual information so the audience gets to understand my unique person. Okay, first of all, I have a disciplined spiritual practice. I have been meditating for about 20 years. It is integral to my life. As you get to know me, you will see that I bring that contentment with me. One of the things that I've been doing over in my camp, Mythmaker Camp, is just holding space for people, helping them process, because I am able to remain grounded and centered even amongst all the chaos of Burning Man. And so that's the first one foundational bit of information to understand about me. Let's see. Second bit of information to understand about me to help you appreciate my story is that I have a back issue. I've had it for over a decade. It dramatically impacts my life. There once was a time in my life where I could not sit on soft chairs at all. I would develop intense back pain and not be able to sleep or do much for days at a time. I used to be limited to hard wooden surfaces like this that most of y'all are sitting on right now. And oftentimes I would not even lean back. Okay, so that still is a part of my life. I have to sleep on specialized surfaces with specialized pillows. If I don't, I will end up having some sort of intense pain and be out for the count for days at a time. Okay, the next thing to understand about me is that I identify as non-binary. I prefer an androgynous gender expression. My sexual orientation is somewhere in the middle between demisexual and asexual, so it takes a whole lot of emotional connection for me to get activated. That's just me. And so I also feel very passionately about evolving the gender relations amongst human beings. I would consider, over the current state to be rather primitive. In other words, that's another way of saying that we have a ton of room for growth for balancing gender relations and having it be in a more evolved state so that our entire civilization is feeling its best and making the progress that it can. Okay, I'm also connected to a community back home in Tucson, in the desert, that prioritizes the sacred feminine. And so these are things that I like to advocate for. Okay, so that's a little bit of contextual information about me personally so that you can understand my story. Okay, so the story is the story of an all-night vigil on this beautiful work of art over here, the Vulva Throne, on Monday night, opening night. It is a powerful work because it also calls attention to just the thing I was talking about, advancing or evolving the relations among genders. Okay. So this was my first burn, and I had been here since Build Week. Last Monday, so the Monday prior to the opening ceremonies, is when I left Tucson on a road trip with some friends here. I had not slept for probably 72 hours straight. I had gotten here probably Wednesday morning around 2 o'clock in the morning and was working. And of course, those of you who may have been familiar with Build Week, there was intense weather that added to the stress and the fatigue and the weariness. Okay, and so by the time opening ceremonies roll around, I have enough energy to go out and enjoy my first official night at Burning Man. And, just hitting the playa, interacting, dancing. I love ecstatic dance. And so I had thoroughly exhausted myself in addition to my already drained energy reserves. And so I really don't know what time it was. It was well after dark. And I was walking through center camp. And I was utterly exhausted. It was probably the most exhausted that I have felt since I had left the previous Monday morning. Okay? So many nights of either no sleep whatsoever or poor sleep. By the time that I got to center camp, I was so weary I could not envision walking back to my camp. I had left my bike over at the camp, and so I was walking. And so I recognized that it was probably, 20 to 30 minute walk to get back to the camp perhaps. at that point. And I know me. I was not going to make it, and I did not want to do something absurd and just like pass out on the floor. I don't think that that's prudent for various reasons. Okay, so walking around center camp, and I arrive at the Vulva Throne, and I look at it just as the beautiful piece of art that it is, and I'm appreciating it. And then it starts to hit me like I'm not going to walk back to center camp. I need to find somewhere to rest pretty quickly. Okay, now, knowing me, okay, and I know me best. We all know ourselves best, okay? Knowing me, I looked at that chair and I touched it. I said, okay, this is nice. It's a hard wooden chair, much like this, but it's got a beautiful, artistically created soft cushion on it, okay? I looked at it, I touched it, I was like, wow, I mean, if this was like not a piece of art, this would be the ideal chair for me to sit in and rest. It was firm, so it provided that support, but it was also, it had a cushion. You know, I mean, if I was sitting in just the plain wooden chairs here, my bottom would probably have given out after, a couple hours. Okay? And then, as I'm reading it and I'm looking at it, I noticed the artist, put a note above the back of the chair that says, of course, kindly, please do not lean on the back of my art. Okay, once again, knowing me, that is a perfect request for me to accommodate. Like, yes, I can sit for hours if need be, perfectly still in discipline, respecting the back of the chair. And so it began. I decided I was going to rest here. I did not know how long that rest would be. It may have been 5 to 20 minutes. It may have been 5 hours. It may have been more. I just knew that I was going to rest there until I was, comfortable, energized enough to walk back to my camp. Okay? Now, I also know me. I am a very light sleeper. I do not sleep very easily. I need precise circumstances to sleep. I will stay up instead for days at a time if I can't find those precise circumstances. So when I sat in that chair, I was rather confident that I would not actually fall asleep that night. That it would simply be a deep meditative rest, which is indeed what it was. I sat down and I was fully conscious the entire time. As I said, I've been meditating for 20 years, and so I was capable of entering into a deep meditative state for the purpose of rest, okay? And that's when things began to get interesting. I believe that when I sat down, it was rather late. Center camp was not all that populated. It was actually more populated right now than it was on Monday night. And what was so interesting is, people were coming and going by the exhibit, and I was sitting there sitting in discipline. And I noticed that, I was kind of attracting a little bit of attention at one point, which for me, I thought that was a great thing. It was kind of like a two birds, one stone thing, promoting stillness and sharing something that has made such a transformation in my own life with others, as well as the message that the Vulva Throne is promoting to Burning Man and the outside world. These are things that are worthwhile to call attention to. And so I flowed with it. And I was sitting there in my meditative state, not about to break that meditation just because some goofballs were, hey, look at this guy, he's the king of the Vulva Throne. Like, okay, go, dude, move on. I'm a monarch. Okay, monarch, not king, non-binary. Thank you. And so it went on. I was in my meditative state, and I would get a mix of people that would come by. Many people were simply fascinated. Plenty of them were very respectful. And then there were also hecklers. Yes, there were actually people heckling me in my meditative state, calling attention to both stillness and this beautiful work of art. That actually encouraged me. Because at that point, I'm not going to break my meditation for, somebody to have shits and giggles, okay? That, what I was doing was more meaningful than, juvenile adults goofing off, which has its place. Let's be clear, goofing off is important, but there's a time and a place for everything. Okay, and so during the night, I got plenty of positive energy. There were people that actually gave me hugs. and otherwise, transmitted positive energy to me, which once again, immensely grateful for. There were definitely people who saw that as the living art that it was. And I'm grateful for that. I'm glad that it was seen. And that living art is really, it's a blend of me, my uniqueness, as well as my passion for meditation and stillness and spirituality, as well as the work of art, the Vulva Throne itself. So during this sit, things got rather interesting at one point. There was one drunken heckler, and the Rangers showed up. Now this was actually rather fascinating. So by the time this happened, this was several hours into the sit, okay? Most people can't sit still for 5 minutes. I was probably there for 5 hours by that point, nearly. The Rangers showed up. Now, the odd thing was the Ranger overtly said on a couple of occasions, "Oh, this is art. This is this person's art. You can't heckle him. It's his art." And the Ranger went on to heckle me. Yes, the Ranger went on to heckle me. And it was funny because from my perspective, devoting my life to controlling my thought processes and mental silence, what was so amusing for me during this process is the Ranger initially talked the heckler to go away, but they kept on talking and talking and talking until they're like, "Well, I think we should heckle this guy some more. Wait, we just agreed not to heckle the guy." Both of those individuals were far more spaced out than I was. Okay. A couple hours later, someone must have twisted the arm of one of the hecklers, because he got up on a PA system and read me an apology poem, and he expressed his emotions and how much I was impacting him positively. That brought a smile to my face. To realize that what I was doing was having a positive and profound impact on people. Once again, as for those of you who know me, which I don't know if there's anyone here who knows me that well, but that is definitely integral to my character. I love to make people's day better. We all need it. Okay, so I was, after that point, I had continued to remain on the Vulva Throne for a number of hours more. Daylight had come, and things had gotten eerily silent within center camp, or daylight was approaching, and things had gotten eerily silent within center camp. And I was rather grateful. It was an ideal state to meditate in. And at that point, I don't know how many hours into it I was still meditating. Yes, I was fully aware, still meditating. And I had noticed, members from my own camp who were coming to, offer some sort of support to be with me during that vigil. Sunrise came, and life went on, and there I remained. Morning had come, and the marathoners were beginning to, come through center camp. And I was thinking about getting up, because at that point, I don't know, it was all night at that point. I had gotten on at the beginning of the night, and by this point it was daylight. My butt was starting to hurt. Okay, I was on this chair. The cushion is a beautiful work of art, and it is also comfortable. After, more than, let's say, like 6 to 8 hours, anything is gonna cause you to fatigue. And so, I had decided that, I was calling attention to at least a couple of important concepts. Number one being, my own journey, my own life, and the idea of stillness and silence, and how it can transform our lives when we learn to make the present moment itself a source of happiness. We have an unlimited supply of happiness available to us when we are capable of doing that. Okay, and that's what meditation offers. It allows us the ability to activate that flow state rather quickly. Get into a quiet mind and start just generating that blissful, contented happiness. Okay, so that's one thing that I like to advocate for. The other thing that I wanted to call attention to is more evolved relations among genders. Specifically, more power for females. That's what we need in order to balance the gender inequalities that our current paradigm faces. Like I said, I consider the current state of human civilization to be rather primitive in terms of gender relations. we have a lot of room for growth, and little things like that that call attention to gender relations, to increasing the respect and reverence for the sacred feminine. You know, these things move that clock a little bit further in the direction of evolution. And so I was happy. I was happy to share my own personal meditative practice, calling attention to that, as well as the sacred feminine. And so when I saw the marathoners going through, and my butt was hurting, I said, you know what? I'm going to make a little marathon out of this, okay? I'm already here for who knows how many hours. And so I decided that I was going to simply stand up off of the chair, remaining on the wooden platform, allowing the energy to flow through my lower body so that I can increase the duration of the sit, inspired by the marathoners. And so at that point, I had done that perhaps for the last hour and a half, just to overall increase the amount of time that I was there. And finally, when that moment or that period of my life was said and done, and I had no more energy in me, and I realized that I had to go about my day, Tuesday, I just decided to get up and walk back to camp. I tried to encourage people to give hugs. A small little joke, okay. If y'all were listening to the Burning Man radio, there were no Husker Do's allowed at this particular Burning Man. So I made it a little joke to enhance the art, to when I decided to get up, to jump up and yell, Husker Do! Okay, just to, show authority how I feel about it. And tell everybody present that means give someone a hug. Everyone can use a hug now and then, whether it's to yourself or to somebody else. And so that's how I finalized that piece of living art, was simply to encourage compassion, kindness, hugging, affection, as well as to think outside the box. Do something different. Gain attention from people and use it in a positive way. Energy is just energy, and we can shift its forms from one to the other. So thank you so much for showing up and listening and creating the space for me to share this story. It really was powerful, and I'm so glad that I was able to use my capacity for stillness to create living art. You are welcome. Yes.
Thank you so much for your perspective and your story. I do need to say something, which is the art was not meant for sitting on. There's a sign saying don't sit on it, and it feels really disrespectful as a woman for a man to come up, see that a female artist has said, here is my beautiful art that is delicate and damageable, and it says don't use this. And for a man to say, I'm going to sit on this woman's art, on all of these examples of womanhood, for 12 hours, for myself, blocking the art, feels deeply, deeply offensive and disrespectful to the art and the artists and the people who want to see her art. I think respect the art. Use it in the way it is made. If you see a sculpture and it says, please climb on me, climb that motherfucker. If there's a sign that says don't, or if you're not sure, or if it's made out of fabric that can be fucked up, don't sit on it. And I'm sorry, this is super intense, aimed right at you, and that really sucks of me. I'm sorry, this is a lot. And I want to say I do appreciate the thought and what you were trying to do. It's just, well, you heard me.
Thank you. You have the space to express yourself.
I'm really glad I get to actually bring up, and now you get to tell me, like, Magenta, go sit down, for God's sakes. Guys, this is the artist, Alyssa Sokolov, who's the artist of the Vulva Throne, and I'm so thrilled you're here. Sorry for ranting.
I want to offer my specific commentary on the facilitator of the spoken word event. This individual has a connection with the Burning Man organization itself as a facilitator of the spoken word stage at Center Camp. Indeed, this facilitator helps maintain the cultural integrity of Burning Man by living the principles of the Burning Man culture, including radical self-expression and radical inclusion. I want to connect my commentary to this person's emotional rant with the idea of observation, action, and reaction. I want to use this emotional rant to encourage observation as an alternative to the tumultuous cycle of action and reaction. My sense is that this person formulated their emotional reaction prior to learning of my gender identity as non-binary and my sexual orientation is on the border between asexual and demisexual. This appears to be an opportunity for them to vent some emotion. As a contrast, I certainly felt emotion upon hearing this person, including her rant and her reference to me as a man, specifically after I articulated my status as non-binary in a cultural climate that promotes radical inclusion and radical self-expression. As a contrast, I chose to observe and break the action-reaction cycle in my own experience. Those of you who know me well are familiar with my logical assertion that language itself is a technology/tool, as it consists of a system of verbal and written symbols that refer to an underlying reality via a cipher. When placed under this lens, language is actually a highly complex ancient technology. By choosing observation, I was able to create space in my own mind and limit using the technology of language to construct stories about why I should feel the way I do. I simply chose to validate my emotions as they were and return to resting my mind on the flow of time or the present moment itself. By returning to this flow state, I am able to create the space for me to feel what I feel, but also allowing others to express themselves. This is how I have grown with the concept of radical inclusion. I chose to wait until well after the experience before crafting stories. I saw the onset of my emotion while this person was ranting. I observed its peak, its fading, as well as a vantage point far beyond that particular emotional state, prior to applying the technology of language to construct stories about why I felt the way I did. There is simply so much more to any given situation than what we can perceive in a moment. Observation contributes to anyone's ability to formulate insightful and even wise responses. By allowing myself to abide in observation, I both validate my own emotions as well as wait for a clearer vantage point before constructing stories about my emotions. Moreover, as this facilitator has some connection with the Burning Man organization, I can see some clear room for growth in their alignment with the principles of Burning Man. As Burning Man itself is such an altered state, I question their burn and capacity to grow with these principles. For 1 week out of the year, allow yourself to be fully in the state of radical inclusion and radical self-expression. How else are you going to benefit from those particular principles that form a foundation of the Burning Man culture? If my nearly 14-hour meditation qua living art could not find a place to be included by the Burning Man organization itself, the only reaction I can have is that Burning Man has some obvious room for growth. Clearly, some have drifted too far from the very principles that maintain the unique culture. When people in positions of leadership are drifting from these principles, They are primarily responsible for degrading the presence of those principles in the culture. With that being said, much love, but fuck your burn.
I would like to thank dear Magenta for advocating for femininity, but I would like to make it a little bit more correct. As an artist, I created this particular Vulva Throne as an exhibition one, and I didn't let anyone to sit on it until I decided that I had to sacrifice it for Burning Man. So it was not built for sitting, but I brought it to provide here for sitting. But unfortunately, it turned out to be that gentle and that fragile that first person who sat on it suddenly started to break the back connection to the basement. And it broke my heart because I wanted to keep it in one piece until the end of the burn. And this is why I put a sign. Magenta, it was not asking to not sit on it at all. It was asking not leaning on it. And this particular person actually read the sign, which I appreciate, and he was sitting on it, not leaning, which I also appreciate. This helped the Vulva Throne to survive until now. It's a little bit like fixed, but it is what it is. We're in Burning Man. So this is to calm down the situation. To be honest, right now, after listening to this amazing story of Kronos, as far as I understood, I feel myself a little bit like Maria Abramovich, because she used to make those interaction with audience using her own body as a piece of art, letting people to do whatever with it. And this is exactly how I feel a little bit about providing Vulva Throne for seating. And this person actually, with his own very unique approach, fulfilled something from what I was a little bit like dreaming about or thinking about. Not in this way, it was very interesting approach. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing this story. I'm sorry for your issues with your back, and I respect you managed to treat it the way it helps you to live and to make it to Burning Man. You're so welcome. And this place is certainly created for someone like you. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for interacting with my art. Thank you to understand the concept. Thank you for trying to promote it. I really, really appreciate this story being told me about you sitting so long on the Vulva Throne. This story was told me by several people, and I was super curious to know it. My name is Alisa, which is literally Alice in Wonderland. And this curiosity I felt today, actually, hearing the story, and when I figured out that it will be you providing the talk. So, I could explain why I'm sacrificing this art piece for sitting and Burning Man and how it works for the bigger idea. I was working hard and planning precisely what I want to do with a lot of attention that the vulva art and particular Vulva Throne usually attracts. It's like I feel like we're living in the world where a lot of companies, a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of TV shows, they chasing attention of people, and this is like a new currency. Who has more attention, he is more powerful in some way. So I'm using the image of vulva because this is how it appeared in my concept, and I can explain why it's like this. And it turned out I didn't expect it. Working on my art piece, being an artist, I see everything with my own approach, and it's very different to what I'm receiving from audience as a feedback, which is very precious for me. The feedback of audience is the most valuable phase of me being an artist. I know that some artists making art just because they know how to use some materials. Some artists make art just because they like to be in a process of creation. I'm not like that. I make art almost always conceptual, and I want it to work on changing people's minds. I want to make this work better. Otherwise, I can't rationalize why I will spend some resources on creation. I can create whatever, but I want to create something that will work. And creating the Vulva Throne, I was concerning that it's not going to be understandable. I was born and raised in Russia. We have pretty suppressed sexuality in our cultural code. And when I was working on creation the Vulva Throne #1, I was hanging out in Russia for 11 months. And I needed help because I'm not that handy. I'm creative, I'm working hard, but something with the wooden base of the chair, with deconstruction of the chair, I needed help. And I was asking mainly men with tools and with hands. And when I was explaining it without picture, it was so weird. I was like trying to get to his mind and to explain that it's very important. And a lot of people who I asked for help told me, Alisa, please stop talking about vaginas or vulvas. It's embarrassing. I can't hear it anymore. I will help you with whatever you ask, but please stop dragging me in your craziness. And I said, okay. I kept quiet, and I didn't feel supported at all. I didn't feel even understood. And I felt like a weirdo who is just spending a lot of time sewing it by my hands, hours by hours. And I had no plans to become an artist back then. I had no ideas how to exhibit my art in anywhere. And then 2020, the lockdowns of pandemic already passed, and the Burning Man was appointed, but the ticketing situation was tough, and I was the one who missed the ticket. So for a couple of months, almost every day, I was talking with some scammers all over the world who gave me hope, a supportive conversation, and then broke my heart with their scammers' ideas. And then my friend from Florida poked me and said, Alisa, there is the application form for international artists on the Burning Man website. Back then, I couldn't even dare to dream to become one of the Burning Man artists. It was too much for me. I felt I'm here, Burning Man artist is here, and my art piece is somewhere here in the weird zone. But he pushed me, and I made it. He pushed me and I made it. I filled the form. It took me 11 hours because I'm not native English speaker and there were restrictions in characters and I didn't know that ChatGPT exists back then. So I filed it and I had no expectations. It didn't look like it will help. But 6 days later I became the registered artist of Burning Man, providing the interactive art installation on Playa. And after all, they provided me a ticket and a vehicle pass, gifted. Thank them so much. They made it happen. So this was my first time I was exhibiting it in diverse audience, and the feedback was overwhelming. It was unexpected, overwhelming, very impressive. Like hundreds of people told me that I'm the real cool artist, including one really cool guy, the one who drew the Simpson cartoon. Actually appreciated my art, David Silverman. And then the artistic story started. I was invited to exhibit it in Las Vegas Gallery. I started to create the Vulva Thrones one by one. Never intended to create more than one. I just needed to express what I'm passing through, facing the gender chauvinism in Israel. Then it started to evolve by itself when I figured out that labiaplasty exists, that we still need to fight for diversity, that gender roles are super outdated and a lot of people are still following it. So come on, we are sending rockets with payload to outer space. And I'm a space popularizer. I basically can explain the construction of the rocket engine in 3 languages. But when I went to fix the car in the shop, they treated me like I'm dumb or like I'm mute or like I'm not here. And I speak 3 languages fluently, and I came prepared to not waste anyone's time. It's surprising. I never thought I would feel something like this. Then presenting my art shows me that it's still super relevant. It affects on different people in different ways. Some people feel very supported and empowered. They read in that part of concept where is the mix and the symbol of power, the throne, and the symbol of femininity, vulvas. Some people are really touched with the diversity because they are not confident about their body that much, and intentionally I created all the labia minoris very profounded to fight with the idea of labiaplasty, which is usually resecting the labia minoris, cutting and ruining the nerves that are responsible for female orgasm. And this is so serious that I just can't stay silent about it. And it works. People really shares with me that they need this support. And this Cronus burner showed us one more approach how art can help a person being made with the nice cushion, and even help a person for whom it's complicated to find comfortable place to get rest. Actually, never thought about it, but thank you for doing it and thank you for sharing. If you have any questions to me from this point, I'm here to answer.
What inspired you to make this particular art piece?
Gender chauvinism, first of all. I didn't see the whole concept with very diverse subsculptures. I wanted to make them the same, just conceptually, just looking like vulvas and the same color. And I literally found myself Googling the proper images for references of vulvas. I never pointed attention on someone else's vulvas. I have mine and I'm pretty fine with it. But I was actually trying to find the image of some normal, understandable, convenient vulva. And there was an ocean of new information opened in front of me during this. First, I learned that there's nothing like normal vulva. They're all super unique and like fingerprints. And unfortunately, the normalization in a bad way still exists. This is where the directors of porn movies are casting their actresses. They want to find that physiology that will allow them to show how penis gets exactly to the vagina. So the ladies with vulvas with not profound labia minoris are working good for that. And this is how they imprinted the wrong, not diverse image of vulva in a lot of men minds. And then when they meet the lady with another construction created by nature, they feel it weird, they feel it disgusting, they push and they criticize, and women actually living under a lot of pressure of demands of how we should look like. I feel it especially strong being from Moscow, Russia. We have strong there, and I'm trying to fix it a little bit, not a little bit, maybe a lot, because of the art is very powerful and attractive. A lot of people can't forget about it after seeing once. And this is how all the labia minoris are very propounded, and it already worked at least once. Once I met a 19-year-old girl whose idea of having labiaplasty was changed after communicating with the art, which is very precious to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, no more questions.
What's next?
The project always evolving according to the feedback from the audience. The next point is New York in October. Manhattan, Chelsea from 9 to 15 of October. If you will pass through, please come join. It will be the exhibition New York I Love You. I've been selected by jury, Agora Gallery. And of course, meanwhile, I'm always open to participate. And also we are collaborating with the sex educator. She's working on building the healthy sexuality for the young people. So the main channel of communication is the TikTok. And she's using the short movies in a funny way of TikTok, that's something like efficient, to promote the right ideas about sexuality. And she uses the costumes of full body vulvas. And I have one. We are collaborating, we are participating in gala event in Los Angeles, I believe in November. And then December it will be Art Based on Miami Beach.
Wow.
Pray for me. I don't have a lot of resources to make it, and I still want to move on. I still want to keep doing my art. I'm a real artist. I'm doing it with no money, just for the people, contributing a lot and all of me. And I'm so happy to feel the part of the harmony of Burning Man, because I brought the art here with intention. It works and people appreciating it, and it's delivering something really important that is important for the whole humanity, I believe. And using the power of Burning Man, having here people from all over the world, we are sending this message everywhere. So spread the word.
Awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Alisa Sokolov and Vulva Throne, love you. You're wonderful.
Do I have your, could you give me your email address for next year?
Yes.
I want to begin by expressing gratitude for her appreciation of my living art. Indeed, feminine empowerment and gender equality are two causes that are closely related that I want to advocate for and call attention to with my living art. There needs to be greater feminine empowerment for better gender equality. Furthermore, we need to appreciate the yin wisdom that females naturally offer. Such wisdom can serve as an antidote for an overly yang society. By empowering females, we are also empowering this natural yin wisdom. Such wisdom is needed for the sake of long-term evolution. Let us learn to create the proper space for such wisdom to flourish. I feel that art with a message deserves recognition. This particular message is one that I resonate with. I was fortunate enough to meet Alyssa, the artist of the Vulva Throne. We spent Sunday afternoon together, had a great conversation, and got to know each other a little bit better. She also gifted me with this amazing piece of art, which was inspired by the struggles of the LGBTQIA+ community in her native land, Russia. Truly a fitting gift. Thank you, Alyssa, for creating this interactive art piece known as the Vulva Throne, as well as your understanding and appreciation of my living art. I want to close with fulfilling an assurance I made to my audience at the beginning of this video. I promised an alternative to the common hazing ritual at Burning Man of telling someone, "Fuck yo, burn." For those who don't want to use this potentially inflammatory phrase, I offer an alternative. I offer this alternative both to you, my audience, as well as to Alyssa herself. That alternative is honor your burn. Honor your burn is intended to have a dual meaning. On one hand, the person using it is recognizing and honoring another person's Burning Man experience. That person is simultaneously encouraging the recipient to honor their own burn. This phrase can be used both to recognize those who were living in honor of the Burning Man principles, as well as to redirect those who have strayed from such principles and remind them to honor the principles of the Burning Man culture. In closing, my response to the entire spectrum of reactions to my living art is simply this: honor your burn. For those of you that were inspired by what I did or otherwise appreciated it, I have the sense that you already are living in accordance with those underlying principles of the Burning Man culture. To those, I say, honor your burn as encouragement and respect. For those who harassed me, including Burning Man facilitators themselves, I offer you honor your burn as a reminder to live in accordance with the principles of Burning Man for that 1 week out of the year. Thank you, and I hope that you have a content day and that something good happens to you.